Welcome to this edition of the Rough 'em Up podcast here on Pro Football Newsroom and F.U.E.L Sports Network. A-Train Arlington Lane here on a somber day of sorts. But as always, Mr. Roughneck himself is with me, Cullen Watkins. How you doing today, sir?
Like you said, Arlington, it's a somber day, but starting to get used to having these somber days. I'm starting to look forward to being able to come on with you and talk about some Roughnecks football.
Yeah, we definitely can do that. But those that, if you had been hiding under a rock, we'll just let you know that they played the Birmingham Stallions this past weekend and didn't do so hot. 32-9 was the final score. And there was a lot left on the bone. You say you leave a lot of meat on the bone. There was a lot of meat left on this bone this week. What was your thoughts about it?
It was an embarrassment, which I know last week I made the stupid prediction that the Houston Roughnecks would beat the Birmingham Stallions. As I was sitting there watching the game, we were in it for a little bit, but it just got away from us. First of all, shout out to Adrian Martinez. That guy can play. I mean, what stats he put up? Let's see. 155 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, no interceptions, and 138 rushing yards.
Yeah, exactly. So
He is the guy in Birmingham. So just let's get that out of the way. I don't think any defense would have been able to stop him. Nevertheless, the Roughnecks defense, because on the Roughnecks side of the ball, it was a awful game all around. What do you think, Arlington?
I would have to say this. There was some positives in it, despite the fact that they got a 3-score loss out of it. Of course, Reed Sinnett went 27 of 38, 203 at a touchdown and interception. The big thing is, we have been calling out Justin Hall to do some big stuff for us, for the Roughnecks this week. And he did 11 receptions, 93 yards. So, and then not only to mention that Kiki Chisholm, part of that offense, 7 receptions, 88 yards. So it might have been a huge loss, but there was some positives that was given from the receiving core.
Absolutely. And I know in my notes I put down for Justin Hall, he's sort of continuing to be that top guy. But with this offense, we have the pieces. Reed Sinnett, we aren't losing because of him by any means. He's a good player. He's a good quarterback. We have Justin Hall. We have the pieces, but it's just not coming together. Now, Arlington, the big thing that I circled in my notes this week that I'm very frustrated over, what the hell were we thinking with Mark Thompson only 4 attempts? When I heard Coach Johnson said that he was promising, he's going to be in the game a lot more. But then in the press conference, he says, oh, yeah, well, our tight end, he got injured, or our running tight end got injured, and we were down. Mark Thompson is our best guy. Give the ball to your best players. I don't care who is injured. I don't care how many touchdowns we are down. Give Mark Thompson the ball. He got out-touched by T.J. Pledger again. What are we doing? It's what? We're 1-4. Am I right on that? We're 1-4. We don't have time to go and do another game where Mark Thompson doesn't get the majority of the touches. Who cares about the injuries? Who cares about the score? It is now time. Like it's more than crunch time now. We don't have an 18-week season. You can't just say, oh, we'll give him more touches next week. We're past that point. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey, Cullen is very spirited today, folks, but with reason. Because my thing is with CJ, when you say you're going to give the ball more to Mark Thompson, give him the ball more. Now, if you're going to say you're doing this to protect Mark Thompson, then you have a bigger issue than it seems to be. So, but these are the reason why you put your best players out there, and they want to play. right? When you saying that you don't want to put Mark Thompson out there, he's only getting 4 carries. That's a huge problem. And a lot of the decision making that's going on with this Roughnecks team is starting to look back to the 3-7 Houston Gamblers team with Kevin Sumlin. And granted, let's remember the Gamblers of last season when they were in the USFL, they were 5-5. And CJ Johnson, knowingly, he knows that this team ain't 5-5. They playing a lot worse than they were previously. I get it. This is a mesh team. This is not the same team that he had the previous year. Granted, we understand injuries are piling up, not just on the Houston side, but around the whole UFL as a whole.
Mhm.
So, um, at this rate, it's like, man, you just gonna have to go for it all, man. Like you're gonna have to throw all your chips in and see if you can get that second spot because that's the only thing that you're playing for at this point. Nobody's stopping Birmingham. All right.
Mhm.
So at this rate in the season, you gotta catch Michigan. Michigan just won their third game this past week. So I'm like, you can't play around with this no more. If not, you are looking at the short end of the stick,
Mhm.
and it's not going to get easier. You're on the road this week against the St. Louis Battlehawks, who are by far top two offense, and that defense is going to be worked. So send it that I don't know what offensive scheme that they're going to have to pull out this time. They're going to be in the dome. They're going to be in front of at least 30,000. That's a different type of atmosphere. You got to be ready for that. I don't know how you're going to be able to do it because you're outside practicing at this moment, but you got to figure it out or you in for another long day.
Mhm. It's going to be, I mean, the level of play that they're going to be going up against is exactly the same as Birmingham. They're going against an elite team, but this time they're doing it in St. Louis, like you said, Arlington. But talking about you were talking about the Michigan Panthers and getting that second spot in the league. To everyone watching, while yes, we are very critical of the Roughnecks, I would like to say that it is not over necessarily for the season because thank God the Memphis Showboats are doing as bad as they are too. And remember, we play the Memphis Showboats again and we play the Michigan Panthers again. If we get both of those games, we are still in it and we could scratch in a playoff spot, which would be really impressive. I'd love to watch Houston Roughnecks playoff football, but you have to beat Memphis and you have to beat Michigan. Can we do that right now? I don't know. I don't know. And Arlington, I'm sure you can sort of agree with me on this. I'm very frustrated with how we performed, but at the same time, I don't know if that's because Birmingham is so good or we just played really bad, or it could just be a mixture of both.
I would have to say it's a mixture of both because Birmingham's offense is pretty elite. You know,
Hmm.
when you have a guy like Adrian Martinez that's able to run the ball for 138 yards on this Houston defense, it's telling of how this season has kind of gone for this Houston Roughnecks defense, meaning they've been on the field too long. And granted, the 38 attempts from Reed Sennett is always a good sign, but you got 203 yards. If we go back, if we go back and kind of check out some of the stats on it, like the drives themselves, if you look at it, Houston had a few drives, but it was for them, it was field goal, interception, punt, touchdown, punt, turnover on downs, interception.
Hmm.
You only had one touchdown in 8 drives. That's a problem.
Hmm.
That is a huge problem. You got to figure out how to get points on each drive. If you can get at least 62%, if you're using, I'm using 8 drives as an example because it's kind of been the average of sorts of how, how many drives they're using, 7 or 8. If you're able to get somewhere in between 58 to 62% of those drives with points, there's a greater chance you can win these games.
Hmm.
It's a greater chance. It gives the chance for the offense the offense to make plays and gives the defense breathers. Give them breathers. They need these. so that way they can rejuvenate, get back on the field, and try to see if they can make stops.
Mhm.
And coming like it's again coming up this week against the Battlehawks, that's going to be the tough part.
Very tough part. We saw how good they played against DC in DC. It was complete and total domination. I don't know what the Roughnecks can do to prepare for that. My God, just preparing for Hakeem Butler alone. Oh, that no, it's impossible. It's impossible. I will say this though. I think when it comes to just these upcoming weeks, and it's just we're just a broken record at this point. The running game needs to get going. If there's the one thing I'm most upset about with this Houston Roughnecks team, it's been the lack of running game. TJ Pledger has not been getting the job done. And Mark Thompson, whether it's injury and then this, whatever the excuse was this week, we're not going to score if you can't get the running game going. Reed Senate can only do so much with his 5-yard passes to Justin Hall every down. It can only do so much. And just watching compare this offense to the St. Louis Battlehawks offense. It's a different level of football. I don't know. Arlington is the problem. Curtis Johnson, is that the problem
Yeah,
here?
it is. The decision making has gotten is really it's unbearable when you having fans at the game in Houston are saying, "What in the world are you guys doing?" That's a bad sign for your team,
Mhm.
and he's got to improve on that. And the the first step is the Battlehawks, and I don't see. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out early in the show. I don't see a win happen this week. I don't see it. And hopefully that is motivation for them to do that and get over the hump. But you got to understand what the Battlehawks have: Blake Jackson, Shakur Pearson, Darius Shepard, even though he's out, Hakeem Butler, Marcel Aitman, right? Jacob Saylor's in the backfield. Wayne Gallman is starting to get better. And of course, the quarterback, AJ McCarron. And then to mention that front five, that's protection. Guys like Bushnell Betty, also Steven Gonzalez. This is starting to become for them a well-oiled machine. And not to mention, after the defensive play that they had against the defenders, their defense is starting to get more confident.
Mhm.
So you're gonna have to be really, really smart. Conservative, no. You might as well throw that out the window. You can't be conservative anymore. You gotta start. You can be smart, but you better start making some big plays on this team. That means you're gonna have to start running the ball. They still have a problem stopping the rushing attack. Granted, they did well against the defenders, but they have no running back.
Yeah. Mhm.
The Roughnecks do utilize him. That's the reason why he's back now.
Mhm.
They could have a very tough time in the run game.
Mhm. There's no excuses now not to utilize Mark Thompson. It's a must-win situation for the Roughnecks. Every week is now a
Yes,
must-win
every week.
situation. Every single week from now on. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, week after St. Louis, we have San Antonio, correct?
Don't it doesn't get easier.
And
It
then
doesn't
after
get
that,
any
we go
easier.
back into divisional games. Yeah, the thing about this league, again, I've mentioned the Orlando Guardians a lot of times, but in the USFL and the XFL in the years past, you'd look at your schedule and there would be, oh, okay, yeah, this team is yeah, sure, even if they have a good record, oh, they're beatable. But man, in this new UFL, you had the Stallions, Brahmas, Battlehawks, and now even the Michigan Panthers. They look really good. These are good teams. You're not going to be able to get a lucky win over these teams. You're not. You're going to have to play a full game of football and beat these teams. And I just don't know if the Roughnecks will be able to do it against a team like the Battlehawks or even the Brahmas. And we'll talk about the Brahmas game next week, but we need to play a full game, and we haven't really. Even against Arlington, Arlington shot themselves in the foot a lot. They did. If they didn't shoot themselves in the foot with penalties, who knows how that game would have ended up? Hell, and Arlington was driving down during the last drive to try and win the game or tie it, whatever. But luckily, we got the strip fumble. It's just, I'm going to flat out say I have made it known that I'm not a fan of Curtis Johnson and Eric Price, our OC, I believe. Just not fans of them. It's old school football being played that doesn't work anymore. Not aggressive enough, way too conservative. I think that's what's going on. It's deeper rooted issues here than just the players. I think we have the talent. It's just we need to shake some things up when it comes like the structure of how these players are getting coached.
Mm. And you couldn't put it any better at this point. I like Curtis Johnson. I like the tenacity, but it's like, man, I know you're fighting for your players, but it's like something has got to change, man. You have your quarterback. All right. I get it. Guarantamo, he's just not the guy this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's his Reed Sennett's team. All right. One, there's gonna have to be communication between coach and player. That has been a problem, right? Let's get away from the trick plays. Let's get away. You need to play, like you said, solid football, right? Because right now, every game, we're gonna repeat it because it has to be iterated. Every win, every game is an important game. If you're gonna make the playoffs, because I don't think we're gonna get a 4-16 or a 5-5 team in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna win, you got to beat the Battlehawks. You got to shake things up, right? It might and it will definitely lift those spirits. If they're able to get a win, I'm not picking them this week. I'm doing it again just for the simple fact of I'm using I'm going to use reverse psychology. If you're going to win against this team, you got to come out strong.
Mm-hmm.
The minute that you get the ball, or the minute you're on defense, get to the quarterback, reduce the penalties, play smart,
Mm-hmm.
but play aggressive. Got to be aggressive, man, because there's no way you could play a conservative game against the Battlehawks and think you're going to win.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Because the Battlehawks live up to their name. They have quick strike abilities, and even when you find if you find yourself up against the St. Louis Battlehawks in a split second, they can be right back into it because they have big play ability. This Roughnecks team we have not seen. We've seen Kiki Chisholm. By the way, I love that he's just broken out onto the scene the way he has. I think he has a bright future ahead of him, whether it's with the Roughnecks or any other team that decides to pick him up. That's the thing, and it's just I'm so conflicted, Arlington, because this team itself I love. The guys are awesome. They're talented guys. Our defense is very talented, but the frustrating part is that it's just not coming together. Nothing is gelling. It's not showing the amount of talent that we have on this team. And that's the frustrating part with this. And I just have a feeling with this Battlehawks game, I know you're going to be picking the Battlehawks, and I will too, because I think the Battlehawks are the best team in the league. I think they're better than the Birmingham Stallions. I'm going to say it. There's this we haven't seen this level of talent from a team in forever in a spring football league. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just like a broken record every week. But I mean, hey, all we can do as both fans, we have to support the team, and we are. I know everyone at the game, was it Sunday, Saturday, Sunday? I forget whatever. I can't remember the weekend. Um, they were supportive, and I still love to see it. We're still supporting the team. We just have to learn from this. Like the coaches will have to learn from it, and I don't know. We'll see where we end up. That's all
I
I
I
have to say.
I just hope 1-9 is not the end here. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I need at least another win or two, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
You gotta lead on a promising note because, like you said, the schedule's not gonna get better. You got two more interconference games, and then you got the divisional games for the rest of the season. Of course, with week 6, and then I'm talking about for the Roughnecks in this case. They got two interconference games, and then they play their division opponents the rest of the season. So
Mhm.
it's not gonna get easier. And I know we sat here and we said that um, there's a great chance they could have went 0-10, but they didn't. So yeah, something's gonna have to give, man. Like I don't know. I don't know anymore. Like I've been wanting to see something special out of Houston, and maybe they do it in the dome this Saturday. Maybe
Mhm.
they have the weapons. You got Kiki Chisholm, you got Justin Hall, you got Mark Thompson. Let's utilize these guys. Find ways to make that work for them. And then if it's not working on there, make sure you get TJ Pledger into the game. Shake some stuff up. You know,
Mhm.
at this rate, man, it's do or die.
Mhm.
It's do or die for them. I can't stress that enough. It's that you know this is now different from X and O's now. This is about getting wins, doing whatever what it takes to get a win. I'm not saying make it harmful, but if bodies are going to be down, get the dub.
Mhm.
Got to get the dub, man. So again, I'm going with the Battlehawks this week, and I hope that Roughnecks hit the players hear that and they are charged up to where they wind up getting a win out of it and get people talking again.
Mhm. It would be a shakeup, that's for sure. If we go into the dome and beat the St. Louis Battlehawks, woo, it's going to be a fun episode next week. It's going to be a real fun episode next week, and I hope they do. I hope they do. And we saw what happened last year with the Defenders and Guardians. It does happen. These upsets do happen. So I think this is a perfect segue now, though, to go into our predictions. So if I did my math right, I had a horrible week last week. I believe I went 1-3. In Arlington, did you go 3-1? I
I'm
believe
trying to
you.
think.
I believe you did because you
Who
had
did I?
Memphis winning, but everyone
Yes,
else
I
you
did.
got correct. So we are both tied now at 10-10 or 500 on the season, which we talked about. I
Ooh.
talked about it week one. Thank God I haven't been betting on these games. Thank God betting is not legal in Texas, really. So, because I would have lost a lot of money. So we already Roughnecks Battlehawks. I have Battlehawks winning. Whatever. We got that covered. We spent the whole
It's
podcast
gonna be at
talking
least a
about
two
why.
score game. It's gonna be at least a two-score game.
I'm I just hope it's not a blowout. I hope it's not a blowout. I can't get over that St. Louis team. It's it's crazy. It's
Nightmares.
crazy. The receiving core, it doesn't matter who you're covering. There will be a guy open, and AJ McCarron, MVP. Hand it to him now. Okay, maybe Adrian Martinez. He's close there too, but AJ McCarron, he's not getting beat in the dome. So Battlehawks both have them winning. So now going bottom up, starting off with I believe is going to be the best game of the week. The Brahmas versus Defenders. What do you got, Arlington? I'm curious to hear what you got to say about this game.
Um, Here's my thing. I think the shakeup need to be made at quarterback for DC. Teamu had 3 picks. I want to see what DeAndre Francois is able to do. Because he may can do something that Teamu hasn't been able to do, and that's find his receivers.
Mm-hmm.
3 picks on last week where he threw it. One he threw right at Mike Rose, threw it right to him.
Yeah.
And you could have
Mm-hmm.
gift wrapped it,
Yeah.
but it's a change. I understand losing Abram Smith has hurt them a lot. It has hurt that team a lot. San Antonio, they're doing fine with Dormady, even though they had some questionable play calling near the end of that game against Arlington. Um, the Brahmas, I'm picking the Brahmas over DC.
Okay. Okay. Um, that's totally valid. Uh, I'm I went back and forth on this because it's going to be an evenly matched game, I think. Uh, but I have defenders mostly because I don't think they're going to drop two in a row in Audi. I don't think they're going to drop two in a row at Audi Field. And two, they played a really good St. Louis team. Now, keep in mind, I did not watch the Brahmas game in full because, first of all, I was at the Houston game, and two, with the regional broadcasts and stuff, it was really hard for me to get the game. But I believe Dormady, did he throw three interceptions? Am I right about
Yep.
that?
Yeah.
I love Quentin Dormady. I love the Brahmas team, but I think defenders use this game to bounce back. It's going to be an important game for them, sitting at third place. And whether it's Teamu, Francois, or hell, Jalen McClendon, that'd be really cool to see him in there. But it's probably going to be Francois. Um,
I hope. Yeah, I'm hoping it might be Teamu still, but just at the
yeah,
end of the day,
yeah. I think they could throw any three of those guys in there, and they do pretty well. The DC quarterback room is I really like that quarterback room. But I'm going DC. I'm going DC, but it could go either way. I'm circling that game on the board. That's going to be a fun one,
hey, I'm basing that off the running game for San Antonio. That's what I'm
and
going
that's
off of
fair.
with that.
That's fair. That's
All
fair.
right. You see, you said that was San Antonio and DC. Next one is Michigan and the Renegades.
I know what I'm thinking.
That's a tough, and it actually is a tough one. I know I chose Michigan because I think Danny Etling is going to do well at home.
Hmm.
And I understand, listen, the Renegades, they got a lot of problems, man, with especially coming to their offensive coordinator. You got a great offense, but your offense just not getting the ball across to the end zone. Like you can throw all the passing yards you want, but if you're not getting points on the board, it's no point.
Hmm.
And they're in a dome again. They're playing against Michigan, who's themselves riding on a high, you know. So interestingly enough, Danny Etling can showcase that he can do well, and Jake Bates is actually human.
Hmm.
So that just lets you know he's actually a human being, and he probably not. He's not going to lose his gig for it, but it just showcases that a superhuman with superhuman strength can actually make and be weak. So, but he's back in the dome again. I got Michigan over Arlington, so uh, Arlington going to remain winless, and I hope I'm right too.
I agree with you. I the game they played, the game that Michigan played against Memphis was really impressive. West Hills, there we go. That's the game that I feel like we were all waiting for West Hills. He showed out, and Danny Etling, I think, is going to be the best thing that's happened to this Michigan Panthers team. The offense looked so much better without EJ Perry. I've said it, and I'll say it again. I'm not an EJ Perry fan. And I think that's why we saw Wes Hills do what he did because he doesn't have a quarterback who's doing all the running for him. And Etling has a great arm. He made some throws in that Memphis game on the dime. So I have the Panthers, Renegades on Luis Perez. I feel bad for the guy. He's leading the league in passing yards. He's sort of doing his job. The record that the Renegades have is not on Luis Perez, in my opinion. But Panthers, I think they got it. They look really good.
So Panthers over the Renegades. All right.
Yes.
The last game we got is the Birmingham Stallions against the Memphis Showboats, and then we sitting back and we like, do we really want to make that pick? Well, we got to make the pick at Birmingham, man. This Birmingham over Memphis. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. No
I thought
sense
you
of
were going
beating
to
a
pick
gym.
Memphis, Arlington. What?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely. No upset wins here. I think the only one we got different this week is the Brahmas and the Defenders. So,
Yeah.
um, interestingly enough, doesn't matter where Birmingham goes. I know I know this is a Roughneck show, but a lot of people are going to look forward to next week, week 7. They're going to be looking at that St. Louis and Birmingham. That
Oh,
might get a million. That might get a million viewers.
oh yeah.
And I'm proud of the fact that it was a good week for the regional games. They were the highest rated for the week, so I guess there is a positive and something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That Birmingham and Houston got 90% of the country. So that was something. But they kind of cut away when that game was starting to wrap up. Because honestly, the Brahmas Renegades was closer,
Mm-hmm.
and it just got weirder at the end of that game from both sides. I'm like, we gotta do better on that, on decision making, man. And it was funny. It's the Texas teams that's having the bigger problems.
It is.
Like on decision making, it's just good Lord. Come on, man. Can we fix this? So we're
Well,
looking at wait. So you said real quick, you said you picked out of the Texas teams, we just picked you didn't pick anybody.
no,
You didn't pick anybody with the Texas teams. I picked Brahmas
I picked all 3 Texas teams
to
losing.
lose.
You know why,
Okay.
Arlington? Because they failed me so much this year. Failed me so much. It hurts me to go against the great state, my great state of Texas, but I just got to. I got to. I will say this, though. This is just total random. I love when the Renegades and Brahmas play each other. That
Yeah.
yellow versus baby blue. I love those color combinations. It's a great game to watch. And two, talking about head coaching stuff, I might try to give AJ Smith a call and see if he wants to be the head coach of the Houston Roughnecks next year. AJ, come back home. We need you as the head coach of this team. He deserves to be a head coach in this league. I wanted to say that this whole episode. So,
Hey, listen. This is the first game since last year where Wade Phillips is going into DC. And the last time
right.
they took a loss,
That's right.
they took a loss to DC with that strong DC team. So now things could be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And how ironic it would be that the two XFL conference, the team that was in the championship game, both sit at the bottom of the XFL conference going into near the end of the season, man.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a whole start. This is a second half start. So the Roughnecks can start getting on their winning ways again, hopefully. But again, we chose the Battlehawks just because we know what that offense is looking like. We're just going to be realists here.
Yeah.
But, anything can happen. If it does change the clip, I'm going to try to get down to the tailgates on Saturday, and meet up with some of the people that'll be there. There's some Roughneck fans that's going to make the trip to St. Louis. So we'll see what happens with that. And then the game itself.
Mm-hmm. And we'll talk to y'all after the game. Hopefully it's a good episode next week, Arlington.
We'll see. We'll see what happens, man. But that'll wrap things up. Man, we still got some time left, but I know
We
it's
got
like, hey,
we got 3 minutes, 45 seconds left.